In order to develop a relationship of feeling with the reader, a writer illustrates emotions and experiences, sharing a part of themselves. William Ernest Henley, a British poet born in 1849, suffered from tuberculosis throughout his life. Poetry was a way for him to vent out his painful experiences in the hospital. In other words, Henley used the medium of poetry as a self-help therapy. Through Henley's in-hospital collection, the poet exemplifies the complications of medical treatment. Throughout his series of poems, Henley poetically painted a vivid picture of events. For example, in the poem Enter Patient, the words "the northern summer air is shrill and cold" ironically symbolizes the grim reality of the tuberculosis in the writer's body. Likewise, the author portrays the imagery of a dark, morbid dwelling, the hospital in which Henley is a patient. When one thinks of summer air, it is not usually cold. Therefore, the reader can easily imagine a dreary place filled with no sunshine. In addition, Henley describes the hospital as a gray, quiet, old, in which better gives the reader an understanding of the surroundings. With great detail, the poet allows the audience to picture the scene in mind. Henley gives more than enough detail to poetically allow the reader to fully imagine and feel the emotions and experiences in his work. A series of different situations are expressed in Henley's work, revealing the complications of treatment through descriptions of imagery. Next, Henley's unique form of poetry demonstrates the hardships of recovery from treatment. One way the author reveals the day-to-day struggle of living in a hospital is evident in the poem Vigil. For example, his words are disjointed and harsh. To quote, "lived on one's back, in the long hours of repose. Life is a practical nightmare, hideous, asleep or awake." Bluntly, the author expresses his innermost feelings with, to quote, "an inevitable atom of light haunts, snores him to hate and despair." The form of this piece is written in a free verse arrangement, as there is no structured rhythm or rhyme. The line structure is original and still expresses his poetic experience. In this work, the words are carefully chosen to illustrate the adversities of daily hospital living. Then, the poet emphasizes the painful procedures faced through establishing a dark tone. In the poems Before, Operation, and After, Henley creates the attitude of anxiety that shows progression through a serious surgery. In Before, the author describes waiting for the knife, the sweet, thick mystery of chloroform, the drunken dark, the little death in life. In this case, Henley's choice of words and phrases express the emotions of distress one feels when anticipating such a procedure. Likewise, he is in control of the mood of the poem Operation, conveying the sudden lull that accepts him, and he sounds in utter darkness. The reader can instantly feel the comatose of the anesthetic that takes out one of the painful mindset of surgery. Likewise, After states, with the strong subter that he heaves and chokes, and sickened at, it is so fully sweet, a dull new pain that grinds his leg and foot. The author's tone truly expresses the disgust and suffering he went through while having surgery done for his tuberculosis. The bitter use of words ratifies the anger of dealing with so much agony and which was out of his control. Lastly, through figure of speech, Henley exposes the joys of being discharged from the hospital, reflecting the relief of treatment. For instance, in the poem "Discharge", the author utilizes phrases such as "carry him out into the wind and the sunshine." One cannot literally be carried out into the wind and sunshine; however, Henley uses a rhetorical statement to express his inner emotions of freedom from the hospital. To quote, "The smell of the mud into his nostrils blows brave, like a breath of the sea." Similarly, the sea is not a living creature and cannot breathe. Henley's simile portrays the wonderful feeling of finally being outside in nature after so long of being confined in the hospital. After enduring a long treatment, Henley was finally able to take a step outside into the natural world once again. In conclusion, Henley's in-hospital collection of poems endorses the torment of struggle through the medical treatment of that time. Utilizing poetic literary elements, the poet shares the experiences of his circumstances with tuberculosis. While Henley suffered from this illness greatly, his poetry helped him get through the unbearable pain of medical treatments. Each poem brings to life the illustrations of the many months of hospitalization through a progression of time.